NJ Spotlight presents its Roundtable series. In this program, Camden Schools and the Future of Urban Education in New Jersey. This program was recorded April 1st, 2013 at Rutgers University in Camden. This program is brought to you by the Cooper Foundation on the web at cooperhealth.org and by the New Jersey Education Association at njea.org and We Can Do Better for Kids on the web at wecandobetternewjersey.org. The panelists in this program are Gloria Bonilla Santiago, Overseer and Board Chair of the Leap Academy University Charter School in Camden. Sean Brown, a member of the Camden Board of Education. Karen Douglas Collins, a math teacher at Pine Point Middle School in Camden. Pam Garwood, Program Director for the New Jersey Education Association. Ryan Hill, Founder and Executive Director of Team Schools. George Norcross III, Chairman of the Cooper Health System. Monique Ragsdale, Camden Community and Parent Advocate. And Catherine Rebe, former member of the Camden Board of Education. The moderator for the program is John Mooney, Education Editor and co-founder of NJ Spotlight. In this program, Chapter 3, Audience Questions. At the lectern is John Mooney of NJ Spotlight.
I mean, what big issue with charters, and I got 5 or 6 that comes up with charters, is that, are they reflective of the larger community? I speak to it how that's played out in Newark. I know it's a big issue in Newark. Speak to it, and she raises it as well. Does it serve the same number of special needs children? Does it serve the same number of limited English? Here's your opportunity.
Right. So first of all, what's happened in Landing Square over the last 10 years? You've been promised buildings, you've been promised schools, and they haven't come to fruition. They haven't happened. That is absolutely part of the history here. We get that, and what we're trying to do is help to be part of the solution to that problem. As for the charter sector, I can't speak for all charter schools. Saying charter schools, just like saying state takeover, sometimes it totally depends on how it's executed. I can tell you our numbers. The city of Newark, the superintendent of Newark, came out with a study on charter schools this year, and said, what are your free and reduced lunch population? What are your poverty rates? What are your rates of students with special needs? And basically, how at risk is your population? And when they looked at that, they said that our charter schools, the team schools in Newark, our 2,000 kids, are lower income and just as likely to have special needs as the rest of the district. So that's the reality of who we serve in Newark. And that's going to be the reality of who we serve in Camden. So in Camden, it's as we're serving ascending zone, just like a district school would, and parents have the option to attend if they live in Landing Square, right? But they're not forced to attend. So if you have a child who's in the grades we serve at the time when we open, then your child has automatic enrollment but can opt out. So it's still a school of choice. And on this topic of school choice, if you think about it, every rich person in America has school choice, right? They can choose a private school, they can move to a different district. Every middle-class person in America has school choice because they can move to a district based on the schools. And that's why people move to different towns most of the time, looking for schools that are good for their kids. The only people in America who have to go to the school that a bureaucrat tells them to go to are poor people. That's the only people in America.
Take advantage of us because they can't speak for nobody. Go ahead, baby.
Whatever the reasons are.
Politicians that blocked our school system in here, like you're not part of our system here.
So what we want to offer is is an option for folks, not a forced option, but an option that people can take advantage of if they choose to. That is school choice, and that's what we offer. Just like, and what we hope to do is offer that to the folks of Camden, just like we offer it to the folks in Newark.
Just so you get some clear, it wasn't that I was mandated for my children to go. That I had history in that neighborhood, and I wanted my child to go to Landon Square. So, and the reason why I say we're being mandated for that school because we have no other public school in that area.
That's right. That's right.
Gloria, speak to it, and speak to the issue. You know Camden well, but and I'm not sure LEAP has always made AYP itself.
We haven't. And
Yeah. So speak. I mean, is this a better lot?
I want to be honest. I mean, no, it should not be. I mean, actually, we have 100%. Let me finish, and then you can challenge me. But we do have 100% college placement, and the state just came out with the data. 85% of those kids have stayed in college, and some of them are just being admitted to graduate school, law school. So our kids are doing well. It's not about just all the time about test scores. I will argue that our kids in the elementary have not met a YP at all times, and I will tell you why. Because these are the same kids that everybody else has in Camden School. It takes us until 7th grade or 8th grade to get those kids sometimes to do well in literacy and mathematics. It takes an incredible amount of work. Listen, my teachers work really hard, and so in my administration works really hard. We're not perfect. I'm not saying here that charters is the way to go. However, whatever you want to call it, we got to look for whatever option is possible to fix our school system. Whether it's portfolio schools, whether it's Renaissance, whatever you want to call it whatever you want. But at the end of the day, we got to do something because you know what? Failure is not an option, not for my parents at least, and not for our kids. And so you know what we're saying here is we need to fix it. It's not working. And yes, we're, like I said, LEAP Academy is not perfect. We are working very hard. We have 5 buildings in Cooper Street. We will continue to grow. We want to partner with the district. We want to take out what has worked and work with the district and the teachers and the principal, whoever wants to, and the union. We have at one point, listen, at one point, we have to come together to the table, and we have to decide, how do we tackle the challenge? We can't continue to lose children every year. And listen, when we talk about special ed, you want to know something about special ed and ESL? My first group of kids that came into LEAP Academy, my first group, at least 400 of those kids, out of 400 of those, at least 100 of those kids were classified as special needs. And you know why? Because they could not speak English, because somebody decided to call them special ed. When we looked at these kids, we had to unclassify them, we had to teach them. And I will argue, listen, all those kids graduated and they went to college. But it takes an incredible amount of work. This is not easy. Those of you who are in the classrooms know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes a lot of effort to care about those kids and a lot of time. This is not a quick fix here, but it's not rocket science. All you need is a curriculum. All you need is adults that care to go in that classroom and spend the hours that are needed. And so that's what it takes.
One of the issues that's come up with
Listen, charter schools are public schools. All the kids.
All right. Gloria.
We don't send anybody back. If they go back by themselves, well, I don't.
Let me ask, and Gloria, I warned you on this. Excuse me. I warned Gloria on this question, and somebody asked as well. One of the issues that arises with charter schools is, albeit they are public schools, they are privately run. There's at least a perception that there's some less transparency. I warned Gloria I'd ask this question. You've gotten a little bit of newspaper coverage for the hiring of a chef who you were familiar with, and for $95,000 a year. Answer it. I don't believe you've spoken to this issue yet.
I haven't spoken to this issue because, as you all know, I said to the press that I have abstained myself from voting on those issues. I was very transparent with the board on this. And so, as you know, what I can talk to you about tonight is about the fact that we have, yes, a chef that is on board who cares about our kids, who actually gets paid to cook and to give my kids 3 meals a day. We have a nutritional program. We care deeply about our kids. We think that feeding kids is important. And we also believe that they are critical. Whatever nutritional program that we have right now is working for us. And that's really what matters to me at this point. So that's, I have been very transparent about abstaining myself from any voting that involved the chefs, and I also disclosed with the Commission on Ethics on this matter. So there's no secret here. I want to be as open as possible with you about that. And so that's it.
Let me speak to it in general on transparency issues, and the Renaissance schools, are going to be, admittedly, they are public schools, but they'll be privately run. They will not have the same public bidding laws that are required under, I think, even charter schools. Let me ask George, your sense of is the private sector, can they do this better in your view than the public sector? Is that, this law is some people have described these as Uber charter schools because they'll have more money, they'll have some more flexibility. Speak to the private issue that arises so much around school reform issues.
This law is designed in order to construct or substantially renovate schools in a particular catchment area, which are going to be state-of-the-art, what you'd expect in any suburban community, which Camden deserves. One thing that doesn't exist in this city is state-of-the-art athletic facilities for the kids of this city. They don't exist. One of the things we're doing as part of this school with our own funding is to raise the money to construct high-quality community athletic facilities for kids, the kind of thing I enjoyed when I grew up. I played Little League, midget football. I'm not sure you can find that anywhere in this city. You need before-school programs, you need after-school programs. It requires an initiative, it requires fundraising, and it requires the ability to get things done. I remember somebody mentioning regulation in the classroom, guidelines that restrict the ability of teachers to teach. I'm not a big believer in regulation, guidelines, when it comes to public utilities like education, where the human capital that's engaged is far more important. And you don't find that in a textbook, you don't find it in a guidebook that's going to tell you how to teach a student, because every student is different. I think one of the things that people ought to think about, unlike anywhere else in this state, is you have various groups and organizations that have never come together before to reason together and to work together. When have you seen Republican administration, Democrat administration, NJEA, religious leaders, community leaders, and otherwise say it's time to come together and sit together in forums like this, school board members, some of whom have strong opinions on various issues that are all well-meaning and well-intended, can sit down and talk about how do we make this better. I don't think anywhere in this state this has occurred. Certainly not in Newark, certainly not in Jersey City, and certainly not in Patterson. And I think people ought to look forward to how do we sit around and deal with the issues that are important to make a kid's life better tomorrow, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, because it's too late. It's over. Our school is going to open in 2014, and we're going to make sure it happens in 2014, because otherwise, the class that begins in 2014, if not ready, will be lost. And think about and visualize all these young kids that might be lost and might be gone. I don't think that's something that people in this room want to see happen. And it takes bold leadership, it takes gutsy leadership, and it takes innovation. And what's been going on for far too long, no matter how well-meaning, hasn't worked. It's that simple. Hasn't worked. It's time to try different things. It's time to try pilot programs. It's time to try anything that might be an alternative that is what has existed to date, which has failed. If it doesn't work, then you don't repeat it. That's why pilot programs that have a beginning and have an end, like Renaissance Schools, Urban Hope, voucher programs, as long as there's an end, if it doesn't work, that's a good thing. But if you don't try, you're not going to succeed.
What is the role, Sean? What is the role of charter schools in your eyes for this district? And we're sort of running a little bit low on time. And one of the questions I'm going to ask all of you is, is what is this district going to look like in 5 or 10 years? Is it going to be the governor talked about New Orleans, which is obviously a predominantly charter school. But what do you think is the role of charter schools in this district?
I think that if you have the position that it is very important for a town to have a traditional public school system that runs well, and that's your only position, that it's too rigid. If your position is the most important thing is that as a parent, that parent has an option for the child to go to the best place possible that parent can afford, which might be free, maybe no cost, might be a public school, then that parent should have the option. And let me talk about myself as a parent for a second. So I have a son. Now my son's in daycare, although I think I pay a little bit too much to call it daycare, but daycare.
It's not daycare.
And
It's early.
my son's tuition went up, so we started looking around at other places. All in Camden, because all the places in Collinswood, because I live in Fairview near Collinswood, all the places in Collinswood, there were no vacancies. So Keisha and I, we looked at, I had to say about 10 places. We got a list from the county, and we took a tour of these places. We went to places where the floors were dirty. We went to one place where the kids were all in front of Dora just watching TV. We went to places where I know that the ratio between teachers and students wasn't right. So I had to suck up the tuition that went up, and my child continued to go there. Now, why do I say that? Because I had a choice, because it's daycare, and a lot of daycares. I had a choice of where to send my child, and I made the choice that I'd rather spend, if I may, I'd rather spend $1,000 a month to send my child where my child goes in Camden than pay $700 a month that is of lesser quality. I live in Fairview. That means I could, when Ethan is 6, he can go down the street to Yorkshire, a traditional public school, or he can go to Freedom Academy, or maybe he can go to LEAP, right? And I'm able to look at, I'm an educated guy, so I can go up to the New Jersey School Report Card and I can see the quality of all 3 of those schools, and I can make a decision as a parent. I think the fact that I have those options as a parent in Camden, the education of Ethan is more important than the politics of unions, of legislatures, of all that. That stuff matters in certain contexts, but the education of my son is what matters more. Now, that's not to say that, the whole point of me being on the school board is because we want to put, the goal ultimately should be to put all those other places out of business, to do so good as a traditional public school system that there's no need for charter schools anymore, and people have so much confidence in the traditional public school system that all those buildings end up being converted to traditional public schools. That should be and when you talk about the goal for 10 years from now, ultimately that's the goal. So you do have a single system where you have a community that and one of the biggest things that's missing from our community, and this is where leadership matters, and we talk about leadership, is that we've never had a mayor or government leaders that have the pulpit that have talked about the importance of learning in an urban poor community. Imagine, look at where we come from. And I see a lot of blacks and Hispanics here. Look at our ancestors and where we come from. Where my great-great-grandparents begged to be able to learn how to read. They were prevented from doing so. And look what we've allowed to happen. We've allowed it to happen that we don't value education in our urban communities as much as we should, but also those of us that even have it don't speak out about the importance and value of education in real simple terms. Get all A's and B's. Go to school every day. Don't let the television, don't watch rated R movies. It's real simple stuff that's not too complicated. So when we talk about the future of public education around here, it has to include a single message that learning matters. We have to stop getting distracted by whether it's charter or public, whether George Norcross was involved in it or not, and get to the whole point of, are our kids learning? And if they're not teaching them, then you need to get the hell out of here no matter who you work for. That, until we get to that point and stop being distracted, these conversations will be real interesting, but I can tell you what parents are saying. The parents are saying, I just want my kid to learn. I just want my kid to be ready to go to college and succeed. And I don't just want my kid to go to college, I want him to graduate from college. That's the point that we need to get to. And I think that there's a little bit, sometimes there's a lot of fluff in these conversations because it's a politically convenient thing to do in the moment, when ideally, it's just like I said, just like I'm able to say for my son, I just want him to be able to go to a place to learn at the cheapest rate possible, hopefully for free.
Next year.
As a former board member, the role of charter schools and Renaissance schools, and leading into the question, is Camden going to be New Orleans? Is it going to move towards a public-private district where actually traditional schools might be in the minority?
I think what matters is that every child in Camden can walk into any school in the city of Camden and get a fantastic education. Not just a good education, not just an education where they pass the HESPA with a 201 and the passing score is a 200, with a fantastic education. And so to me, what that means is, yeah, the public schools need to be pushed. The public schools need to get a lot better. That also means charter schools should be held to just as high, if not higher, of a standard. When you look at charter schools and half their kids aren't, more than half, in some cases 3/4 of their kids aren't passing state tests, that's an issue. And those schools, in my opinion, should be under a lot more scrutiny. At the same time, when you have charter schools who are doing really good work and whose kids are really learning and who you're seeing it, do test scores tell you everything? No. Do test scores in the aggregate tell you something? Yes. Where you see good test scores, where you see a lot of the kids going to college, staying in college. Yeah, that has a place. But what's important is that I think every single operating school building in this city should be fantastic. And until we're there, the work's not done.
What about Karen? Speak to, you see, charters from a district point of view.
I'm a firm believer in public education. I was brought up in the public school system. My parents were in the public school system, and my children, I have 3 daughters, all are in public school and have graduated from public school. I'm just looking at the difference between the charter schools and the public schools. I see really, where it's basically the same as far as they still, the public schools, you have all that is necessary and needed. Yes, they need to get a little bit better. I believe that, but at the same time, you have the charter schools, and when they cannot deal with the discipline, they send them back to the public schools. They're not meeting AYP. They don't have the best leaders. Those same issues that they're talking about the public schools, is happening with the charter schools. So I'm just a firm believer in public education. And I think I will still continue to feel that we will get better, we need to, and we will continue to push for the best for our children in any urban area.
Monique, where do you think the district's going to be in 5 or 10 years?
I don't want to predict where the district's going to be, but if they keep promoting, charters and choices, I can see that our private schools may fall under. Maybe, be left for private schools, actually. That's how I see it. And just like, Ms. Karen spoke and Ms. Rabai spoke, it is about educating our kids. I love public school. I'm pro-public. I was educated here in Camden. I have older kids who was educated. And the whole thing about where people say is hopeful, to know our kids, and I went to Woodrow Wilson when governor was here, and I speak to these kids like regular. We have highly intelligent kids, and their creative is remarkable. And for me to hear like these headlines and all the negative stuff that goes about these kids, when I know that they can achieve higher, and the kids who are achieving are getting ignored, I think public school is just definitely where I am, and that's where my heart is. And I would do anything and be willing to sit with anybody to help our kids in our school.
You're gonna. We're almost done.
I know these are not sitting here for decorations. Okay? So,
Do you want to speak? I'll let you speak. But one ground rule. A question. Can you make a question?
well, no, it all in common. You can get able to understand the question.
Will it be a short comment? Okay. We don't have a lot of time, only because we have to
All
leave.
right, we can do that. The governor came down here as a takeover. That was a plan. All this whole scenario was a plan. What I resent, I predicted he was going to do it after he won. I think that everything's in place. The Renaissance schools is out of the way. The appointed board took care of that. He will not be blamed for that. I resent the fact that he comes here and come to Woodrow Wilson and say that my children are losers.
Yes.
I don't like that. What is this here bully all about? Coming down here in my community and saying that our children are failing. He knew for 3 years he said that. The board has been down here for over 3 years. So what is this scenario? I think some of your board members raised that. What is this all about? It's about the money. $56 million come out for just for charter schools. Just for charter schools just this year. You know? Now, I'm concerned about this. Is this going to be another Chester? They opened up so many charter schools they could not pay for the public schools. What's going to happen to my children of learning disabilities? What's going to happen to our children that have problems? For the last 5 years, John, there are children that came out of the schools were not properly prepared. There's nobody offered up any jobs, any training. They are a problem to our community. And George said it will not be allowed in the suburbs. The suburbs have been teaching our children. Huh? And ain't nobody owe no money to none of those teachers. Now, he made a statement too. We can't dwell in the past. Yes, we do. It's something called, George, the Sankofa bird. The Sankofa bird is a bird that's walking this way and his head is turned back. In order to go forward, you must understand where you come from. We must pull the weeds out of all those bad teachers. Now, I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay. What is the impact of all these schools that you're opening up to the the governor said he's going to appoint an advisory board, which is another advisory board on top of advisory board that's been there. What is the impact of people who work in Camden who work for the district?
Let me try to paraphrase some of this because
I can't let you get away. Because what's the name?
You know where to find.
Voices here, and they're serious, and you're glossing all over that. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, George, obviously, some of those questions were directed at you, but I mean, some folks have wondered what your vision is for this district. Is it going to be?
Y'all built Rutgers University new school, Rowan. The Cooper Center,
please.
And not 1% of the jobs are tied into the local economy. The families are failing because the fathers cannot provide for the children. You must tie in downtown development to the local economy, to job training. Barack Obama put money in here for weatherization and green jobs. And what did the power brokers do? Put it down in Glasgow.
Thank you. George, speak to, I mean, there's obviously some tensions around where this is headed.
It's a legitimate
Got it.
tension. And they need to be.
We're good. Speak to this. I mean, he said it, but these are tensions, and these are tensions that have arisen in Newark. These are tensions that have arisen in Patterson. Speak to the larger, where do you see this district headed? Will it be predominantly, private charter Renaissance schools, privately run, and they are public schools, and I think that's important. But obviously there's some issues.
Let me try. I can respond to a few things.
There are a few things.
Hundreds and hundreds of people that live in this city work for Cooper University Hospital. We have a mandated program during our construction as a priority to employ Camden residents first, and we've tried to do our share to provide an opportunity. Over half the people that live in this city receive their health care directly or indirectly from Cooper. Over half the people that live in the city. Now, charters have evolved in all cities across this state and maybe across this country. They've evolved because parents are dissatisfied with the public schools. Now, I believe in the public schools. I'm a product of a public school. I went to Pennsauken High School. Obviously, having a prosperous public school system that serves parents and students is an ideal circumstance. That's why I advocated for the Urban Hope Act and the Renaissance schools, because unlike charter schools, it accepts every single child, no matter what, in the catchment area, no matter what.
That's the neighborhood.
And the first school that's been approved by the Board of Education is going to offer opportunity when it's fully completed, K-12, to every student. Now tell me in this room, who doesn't favor full health care for every child and every family in that school? Tell me who doesn't favor that. Listen, I remember when I had my first drink too a long time ago. Please let us speak. Who in this room doesn't favor early intervention testing for their kids? Who doesn't favor longer school days, longer school years? Who doesn't favor extensive organizational training for teachers, which are the prime investment of any school, aside from a parent? That's what Renaissance schools are doing. And there's not a child within the catchment area that will be denied access. That, to me, is the failing of charters, where there's not mandatory acceptance, where we have 2,000 or 3,000 kids sitting on a wait list whose mom and or dad saying, I need to go to this school. That's how I got involved in education in Camden. A woman came up to me at a Cooper event and said, I need your help. I said, for what? She said, I need you to get my 2 kids into a charter school. Now, I thought that would be easy until I found out there's a waiting list and a lottery system. And thank God there are parents that want to have their child get a wonderful education. And if they choose Leap Academy or the public schools or want a voucher to go to a different school district, we should provide that opportunity today, now, because we can't keep debating, discussing. Yes, you have to look backward. Yes, you have to look and say, what's wrong? What can we do to drive what goes on? But you also have to act. And the problem that's been going on here for so many years is a lack of inaction. I started off my remarks earlier. The last superintendent of schools here was AWOL for almost a year. Nobody knew where she was. Nobody could find her.
And we ran her out of here.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, no,
the
you
state of New Jersey ran her out of here.
Folks, we're going to be closing soon.
No,
so
you didn't.
We're running out of time.
That's not true.
Let him
I
finish.
don't even know
Let
who
him
she
speak.
is.
Very briefly. Very, please. Because we're going to be kicked out, literally.
I'm going to make this very brief and very succinct. Now, I'm a product of the Camden School, of Camden High School. I was the first and only Black American from Camden to be awarded an officer's commission in the Marine Corps. And I spent years manning the wall to defend this country against despotic leaders, countries that were under the rule of one government. Let me finish, please. Now, I come back to Camden. Camden's under the rule of one party. Mr. Norcross says that he, for the past 5 years, he's felt that the Camden students were being shortchanged. And you've been in power for over 20 years, Mr. Norcross. So suddenly you are concerned about the children in Camden. Cooper Hospital got a large portion of the $175 million intended for economic development and public safety in the city of Camden. Where was your concern then? And also, Mr. Norcross, the school board, as it is constructed and appointed under Dana Red, is under your indirect control. And also, this one party, in 2003, this one party stripped the elected leaders of their authority, the mayor and city council. In 2009, that same party stripped the residents of their right to elect a school board, and that is a constitutional right. And now, that one party, by the way, that party wrote the HOPE Act. Yes. You know who they are. Your brother. Okay? Donald. And the bottom line is, the charter school movement is not about educating poor, Black, Hispanic children. It's about redistributing wealth. It's about turning over the responsibility of educating our children to corporate America and Wall Street.
Okay, thank you. George, do you want to address?
If I wanted to go to a political meeting, I'd go to a different forum. Listen, this gentleman has run for office. He probably is running right now. So it's a wonderful political speech. Listen, you have every right in the world to say whatever's on your mind. Okay. I'm not here to defend charters. I'm here to talk about what Cooper and the Cooper Foundation is sponsoring and what opportunity it is for the students that are involved in the Renaissance School program. I don't hear you dismissing or opposing the idea of health care or early intervention programs or longer school days or longer school years. I hear you getting up, railing against what you're, listen to me. Listen, my friend, you've run for office, you've been roundly defeated. Listen, I'm happy, listen.
And I'm gonna respond to you.
Listen.
I'm not one of the sycophants that you have in your party.
Listen, the Board of Education is highly independent. There are 2 members sitting up here, 1 former member. That Board of Ed is the most independent Board of Ed that's probably existed in years and years. Martha Wilson sits on that board. Ray Lamboy, who I saw here earlier, sits on that board. Barbara Coscarello sits on that board, and others, all of whom have taken the time out of their lives to be part of what goes on and passionately have different views and opinions, which we should respect. Railing against everything doesn't solve any problems. Solutions and action matters. And at least some of these people on the Board of Ed have seen the time to get up and say, here's what I think. The NJEA, to their credit, and the teachers that are here today and others, to their credit, are saying, I want to be part of a solution. I want to be part of a solution. I'm raising my hand. That's my point. We need to move forward, evaluate the past, but move forward. And there are ample ways to do that, which are certainly going to be better than what exists today.
All right, we are running out of time. We were told we'd be out of here at 7 o'clock, and it is after that. I want to thank, and I hope you all will thank the panel for joining us today. It's not an easy discussion. Let them, there were,
Why don't we do this? Why don't we agree to continue the discussion? Why don't we agree to continue the discussion? Because it's very difficult to have one night, one discussion.
I agree. And let me finish this thought. One gaping hole in this discussion is the role of the state. And we talked about it from afar. None of us are the ones representing them. I am hoping that we will be back here sitting with Chris Cerf or somebody who represents the Christie administration to talk about their plans for the state. I also want to make, and I think every one of these folks is willing to hang around if you do want to speak with them. This is an opportunity to do so. I know this is not the end of this discussion, and I'm hoping that we got some issues out on the table, and I appreciate the audience very much. There were a lot of questions we didn't get to, but I hope I wove up most of them in there. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Read NJ Spotlight and stay in touch on these issues. It's critically important. Thank you very much.
For more information on NJ Spotlight programs, visit the website njspotlight.com. We produced this program in the studios of Lubetkin Global Communications in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, on the web at lubetkin.net. For everyone at NJ Spotlight, this is Steve Lubetkin. Thank you for joining us, and take good care. NJ Spotlight, where issues matter.